Welcome to Urban Fantasy PH. We are creatives who live in an urban society and give readers wish fulfillment by way of our stories, which is fantasy but reflective of reality. Here, we get to talk to fellow creatives like writers, authors, artists, comic book creators, filmmakers, you name it. We create and share our art here in the Philippines as well as abroad. My name is CJ Edmunds, I'm your host, and here is today's episode. Hello, Wednesday, and welcome back to another episode of Urban Fantasy PH. Now, our show is aired every Wednesday, both for Spotify as well as on my YouTube channel. So if you want to simply listen to us, or you can watch us on YouTube, the choices are yours. My name is CJ Edmunds. This is the 6th episode of our second season, and we're happy that we get to do this for you every week and for your continued support. Thank you also to Spine Books for being there for us since day one. Now, our guests for today are somebody that you could say they know their way around the local comic scene, and they are let me capitalize that, THE, the husband and wife creative team behind Amagination Comics. Now, some of the titles that they have produced include Moonlight Meow, that's published by California-based Seven Seas Enterprises. Also, the Carnal series of comics, or if you're Filipino, it's Carnal, which is the one that I got and was introduced to them back in the day. But it's currently also been picked up by another California-based publisher named Diwata Comics. If you read The Mask of Halia, so far 3 issues now, then you will know who Diwata Comics is or are. There's also Doobie-Doo Asks, and the recipient of the 2022 National Children's Book Awards, and an official selection of the first ever Philippine International Comics Festival. Yoo-hoo! Now, they also do comics-related art, and they handle lettering and script adaptations of US-based manga publishers. Now, I say that their work is not only cut out for them, but certainly speaks for themselves, and that they're not too busy, which is why I'm happy that they can join us today. Let's welcome Roland and Bambi Amago to the show. Yay!
Thank you for having us, and of course, we will make time for this for you, CJ.
Thank you. No worries. Welcome, Roland and Bambi, to Urban Fantasy PH. It is a pleasure to have you both here. And when I was reading your comics for the very first time, I knew that it was the kind of reading and the kind of comic that I would love to talk about on a show. And this was the time when I was still envisioning how the podcast is supposed to be. So now that both of you are here, I am beyond stoked and happy.
We're happy to be here also.
We hope we live up to expectations.
Yeah.
Oh, you have. No worries about that one. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of things, can you tell our listeners and viewers something about yourselves prior to creating this creative business for yourselves? So in short, slum book questions. You know the questions: birthplace, favorite food, pet peeve, favorite teacher, aspirations in life. Aminin man o hindi, we know these questions, and you know it's a book that was part of our childhood.
Yes.
Do you want to go first?
Okay. Hello everyone. My name is Roland, and I'm the artist for Carnal Tales and Comics by Amagination. I'm a freelance artist who have worked for titles like Dubido As, the Carnal series, and I've been lettering works for Seven Seas manga. And before that, way before that, I was an artist for Questor, for those of you who are in the 90s.
Yes.
So yes, I was
Isang malaking yes.
I was part of the pool na gumagawa ng sister publication niya, which is Questor Extreme Manga Mania. It was titled under Side Sweepers.
Siya yung
Ako yung
illustrator.
And then, moving forward, before nag-close down, naging colorist ako for the actual magazine, and then helped out with yung pinaka-work about ng Questor Extreme Manga Mania. Pag kailangan nila ng extra help pagdating sa pagtones, yun. Ako na yung gumagawa.
So, anong favorite color mo? Lambok nga eh.
My favorite color would be red, which is obvious here. Kaya yun ang pinaka-dominant ng mga Carnal series. Not only because yun nga bagay doon sa theme, pero I really, really like red. And my favorite food would be ramen.
Tinutuo talaga yung tanong mo.
Ayun. So, ayun.
As opposed to him, yung favorite color ko, blue naman.
Mhm.
So, but it doesn't come out. He keeps using red as a main theme of our covers. Kung mapapansin niyo yung Carnal series, puro red. But it's okay kasi Carnal nga eh. So, I like cats na ng internet, the poster animal for the internet. But even before the internet, mahilig na ako sa pusa. My first cat's name is Snapper.
Ay.
Slambok na. So, ayun. So, going sa professional naman. So, before we went full-time freelance, I started working under ABS-CBN Publishing for Cable Guide magazine. It's like TV Guide from the States. Kaya lang ngayon, wala na kasi streaming. So, you don't really need Cable Guide magazine. So, from ABS-CBN, I was recruited by Questor, the Ultimate Anime magazine. Doon kami nag-meet. So, it was an anime features magazine na nag-venture also to create original manga-inspired comics. So, what else? I guess yun lang. Alam nyo na yung the rest kasi it was mentioned na kanina.
You mentioned that you're a cat person, so does this mean bawal ang aso sa bahay? Ganun ba yun?
I actually like all kinds of animals. I also like dogs. Kaya lang natatakot ako baka mag-away sila.
Oh yeah. Alam mo
Saka
naman ang aso pusa.
nakakaawa kasi parang dogs are needier. So if we go out for like conventions and stuff that we're out the entire day, parang nakakaawa sila iwan. Tapos cats na parang wala naman silang pakialam, nandyan ka, wala ka.
Actually, yeah, there's a little bit of truth to that. But some dogs can also be needy, depending, I guess, on the breed and the time that you spend with them. But yeah, dogs or cats owners, they're always welcome on the podcast. I do not discriminate. So moving on, I mentioned childhood earlier, and I was wondering, were the both of you attracted to horror growing up, and what is it about the horror genre that you found fascinating?
Siguro ako, I'm not sure if he was attracted to it right away. Parang napilitan lang siya mag-horror kasi pinilit ko siya. But yes, me.
Okay, somebody got duped into it or forced into it.
But me talagang since childhood, hilig ko na siya. Maybe, siguro it has to do with, kasi nga nung, if you are reading Carnal Tales, there's a Lola character who tells the stories.
Yes.
So, kasi sa probinsya, because, kids, when we were young, walang mga TV dati sa probinsya. Like, bihira lang ang may TV. Siyempre, walang internet. Kuryente na, of course. Pero walang internet. Hindi ba kami ganun katanda? Pero sa probinsya dati, siyempre, you play all day and then at night, siyempre, bawal na lumabas. So what the lolos and lolas would do to entertain the kids is to tell the stories. So happens na yung mga stories, mga nakakatakot, mga aswang, manananggal, ganyan, multo. So, mga gano'n. So, I grew up with these stories. Tapos, na-hype siya lalo nung during the Ramos administration, if you remember, puro brownout. So, parang
yes.
Area na even sa Metro Manila, sinasabi nila may mga manananggal sightings. Diba? Parang may mass hysteria at that time. Kasi nga madilim. So, and then, even nung grade school and high school, yung school namin, malapit sa may palengke. Tapos dun sa palengke, there was a lady who was renting out comics. If you're old enough to remember yung mga nakasampay na comics, I would always
Mhm.
I would always rent yung mga horror comics and stuff like that. Kasi mahilig ako. Even sa novels, I would go for mga Stephen King type of novels. So, ayun. So, pero horror movies, strangely, not so much. I don't like watching horror movies, not so much. I
Not so
do
much.
like reading horror.
Yeah, and the best time to watch and read horror movies is, of course, at night,
Exactly.
where you get the full essence of what you're reading, diba? So when people say, no, 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 I don't watch at night, I watch it during lunch. Bano. Yung pagtawanan eh. But horror usually gets dismissed as another genre in the ever-growing category of reading material. I was wondering if you ever saw the horror genre as literary fiction.
Literary fiction. Yes.
It is, no?
Yes, kasi, how do I explain? Parang, kasi nga, because parang lower form, di ba, yung takutan. Maybe because na-associate siya, a lot of it is like B-movies and stuff. But it can be literary fiction. Kasi it can be, there are a lot of beautiful horror novels. Like, Dracula is a literary classic, right?
Yes,
Frankenstein,
it is.
di ba? So, it can be. Of course, there are some na, for pop, medyo lower, but, it can be. Like,
No.
like anything else, I suppose. Kasi may love story din naman na tsaka. May love story na maganda, di ba? Parang, it's the same as any other genre, I suppose.
Okay. Well, on the subject of fiction, comics itself has also had a bad rap in the past,
Yes.
and probably this is dependent on whom you ask. But would you say that the medium of comics can also be considered literature, if not literary?
Definitely. There are, kasi nga, again, comics is generalized as pop culture. So, kaya, so it's a cheaper form of art, quote unquote. But there are a lot of comics that are just beautiful. Elmer, for one. It transcends any genre. Kasi nga, yun nga, it's fictional, but, there's a reality to it. So beautifully written. The art is beautiful.
So, Arnold Ares, yung mythology
Mythologically, he was the first
Yes.
one who got a National Book Award, right? Which is a literary award.
So that should silence any other people who think that comics is not literary.
Drawing lang yan.
Yeah, true. Well, the reason I asked this was perhaps based on the perceptions of the generations before us. That was anything that's drawn, anything that's animated cannot be taken seriously because it is for kids. So animation cannot have adult, it cannot have mature themes because animation is only for children. So what do you tell people who still have that kind of mentality? Or
For
you just
me,
or you just
simply-
totally I don't want to talk to you na.
For me, simply tell them watch anime because anime has so many genres, so many types of story. Ghibli, Berserk from Ghibli, which is more of yung mga more child-centric, pero hindi din eh. There was like Grave of the Fireflies. Yun nga. Looking at the collection of Ghibli itself, makikita mo that there is definitely for children, but they can go beyond yung sa mga pag-watch ng pang-adults na din. Yun nga. And then that's why they have been titled as the Walt Disney of Japan. Right? And then, yun nga, I guess pati Western nowadays, hindi lang naman na sila superhero and hindi na sila masasabi na pambata. For example, yung recent na pinapanood namin which is Steven Universe. it looks for children. Definitely, it looks for children. Yung style. But if you go deeper, there's a storytelling niya, how yung interactions yung characterizations ng
Mhm.
characters, how they develop. Doon mo makikita, wait, pang matanda yung ibang topics dito ah. So, ayun. Siyempre, meron kang nakikita sa mga YouTube na meron. Minsan yung pang, ops, masyado ng, yung mga naughty things
Yeah,
na
yeah,
minsan
yeah.
nalagay doon na hindi mo maiwan. Proof lang yan. I guess one proof din na, yun nga, it can be for adults din.
For adults, exactly. And if you keep maintaining that perception that animation is just for kids, just have kids do the animation and not adults, diba? Para tapos ang usapan.
Yeah.
Puro skeleton figures lang yun. And
But you
when
will
I
be
was also
surprised kasi nowadays with the help of technology, there are some children who can create
see,
di
see,
ba?
so a new generation of creatives, and so yes, always a yes to that.
Yes.
Also, when if you are one of the people who have actually finished Voltus 5, you would think that it's just about robots and that they're just
Yes.
aliens coming into the planet, and
Mhm.
but you know that the themes of family, the theme
Yes.
of loss, the theme of sacrifice, these are all themes that pang
Mm,
mature sila talaga. It's not, it's there has to be some sort of lesson that needs to be taught in
correct.
spite
Correct.
of it being animation.
Yeah.
And
Mm,
I'm sure fear of the certain is one of the underlying, if not subliminal, reasons why this has persisted for a time. It's because the main perception is that you cannot earn a living being a creative. You have to leave that to the side, and the only way to earn your keep is through a 9 to 5 job.
mhm.
Yeah.
Diba?
I've been through that too.
Yes.
Yeah, if you're basically it's either to be an architect lang if you like drawing before na, uy, gusto ko mag-finance. No, gawa ka, mag-architect ka. Kasi nandun yung money. Wala
Nandun yung pera.
masyadong pera sa
Mm,
Pera! Where the money is. Yeah, but the arts can also be where the money is. Well, I guess depending on your art and depending on how much passion you bring to your creatives. And a lot of indies and freelance creatives as well as artists, they're changing the landscape and the perception and rewriting that rule. I mean, Neil Gaiman himself feels that a lot of work these days is being done freelance, and
mm,
that's a good thing. And for those who
mm,
are listening, if you're not exactly sure who Neil Gaiman is, then mag-YouTube at magbasa kayo because you will find out uh, who exactly Neil Gaiman is, ano yung mga nagawa niya, and what you probably have seen, but you didn't realize that, oh, it's Neil Gaiman pala.
mm. Yep.
Right? The indies these days, I mean, they've seemed to have gone from underdog to mainstream,
Mhm.
and the indies of course are known for, or us, we're known for pursuing our art because it's our passion rather
Yep.
than following a trend or a trail of
Yes.
possible heap loads of profit waiting at the end. But if that's the case, and if indies are now the new mainstream, saan napunta si mainstream? Nagpalitan lang ba? And sila na underdogs ngayon? Wala lang, just a thought.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, in terms of yung sa Pilipinas kasi, parang nawala na talaga si mainstream when the big publishers of before like Liwayway is back. But before kasi like there's big publishers for funny comics, diba, Liwayway. So sila yung mga horror comics that I used to read as a child. Sila yung mainstream. They were
Mm-hmm.
backed by an industry, by an actual company. Just that nagsara. So nung nagsara, yan, dyan naglipa na yung mga indie publishers. Because creators want to keep on creating. Kaya may established company or not. So kung in the absence of them, then nag-indie na lang na. So ayun. Hopefully, magkaroon ulit ng mainstream with the rise of publishers like Comiket and Anino and Visprint magkaroon ulit ng established comics industry sa Pilipinas. And we're
Mm-hmm.
starting to get noticed.
Yeah. And that's one thing good about Comic It. Each and every month, halos every month merong isa, di ba? So
Right.
you as a consumer, as a reader, and if you feel that you missed out on, oh, I didn't get to go last month. Oh, there's always next month. So
Exactly.
there's always something to look forward to. There's always an expectation that I've been there last month, but pupunta naman ako next month. You never know because the
Right.
people who join Comic at nag-iiba.
Right.
So akala mo kung sino nandiyan next month, baka the following month wala na sila doon dahil may iba naman pumasok.
And it's good na parang iba-ibang location. Because what happens is yung mga creatives sa Iloilo, siyempre, they would join the Comic at Iloilo.
Yeah.
You don't see their work, sadly. You don't see their works in Manila. So if you want to see what the creative scene is like in Iloilo, pupunta ka sa Iloilo. And vice versa, di ba? If you're a
Yes.
Manila creator and you join a Comic at Iloilo, malalaman nila, ganito pala yung mga creatives sa Manila. So it's nice kasi nga, kunyari, yun nga, you're a consumer, you're a fan. You can go from one place to another and then iba-iba nga yung tao. Kasi what happens is, I'm a creator. Tapos, I'm from Parañaque. Ang layo naman ng UP Town Center. Siguro, ipapasok ko muna yun. Dito na lang ako sa Comiket South. So, the people who are joining Comiket South, even within Metro Manila, iba yung mga nasa South, iba yung mga nasa North. So, ayun, the choices actually for a consumer or for a fan are actually, so you can actually, and it's just 100 pesos. And a lot of times there are some that are free. Like last time, sa Pasig, sa Ayala Mall sa 30th, it was free.
Yeah, because it's inside the mall. Same thing for yung January in Market. That was also free. So yeah, if consumers are wondering,
and yes, it's not the same. There are some who exhibit at all, but there are different exhibitors to see each time, each place. So you can go Comic at hopping and experience or see something new all the time.
That's true. And to everyone who is behind Comiket, us indies, we thank you for creating Comiket. So
Also,
let's start.
if I may add, we are in the era na technology is so is more accessible. Yeah. So we have streaming platforms na. So if you have no time, yun nga, medyo hirap kang makahanap ng time na pumunta for events, nandyan yung Pen Lab, wherein you can see like a taste of some of the titles that the indie creators have for events. So, di ba, it's before parang hirap maghanap eh. So ngayon, yun nga, platforms like Pen Lab, yun nga, makikita mo, and they have yung magandang interface na nila na whatever genre you want, they're specific, and then when you find something you like, you can actually look for the artist and then see if yun nga pag attend sila ng events, then you can buy like their merchandises there and then have it signed. Right?
True. And one of the good things about being indie is that there are no gatekeepers. Diba? Usually kasi pagka, diba? And that's the thing about traditional publishing. There will always be people who will say, "Oh, you can't publish that because it's too subversive," or "You can't publish that because your target market is a little off. Your drawing is for 6 to 8, but your content is 14 to 16." So no one's there anymore to tell you what you're not supposed to do, and it's a free for all, diba? All bets are off, and that's great. That's great. It's a great time to be an indie. But let's start with the first graphic novel that introduced me to your work, and this would be Carnal Banahaw. And without giving too much away, can you tell our listeners and viewers what the story is all about?
Well, it's about twins who come home to their hometown, the town of Liliw in Laguna. It's an actual town. That's where I spent summers growing up. So they go home there, and then creepy, scary, violent things start to occur at the same time. So is it because they went home or is it because of something else?
Okay, all right. We will leave it at that. No spoilers. No to spoilers. Okay? Mga mahilig mang spoil, nilalaglag po namin sa bangin. So kung ayaw niyo po maisama dyan, huwag kayong mang spoil. But did you base paka-violent natin, umaga-umaga. But did you base the characters, let's say the two brothers on anyone you know, or is that supposed to be a secret? But
No,
okay
it's
lang,
not.
okay
They're
lang
not.
ang secret because I trade in secrets and Varys is my middle name.
They're not really based on anyone I know specifically. At least I did not intend. Maybe subconsciously may lumalabas, but walang intentional, walang intentional na gano'n. If you notice, Banahaw and Cristobal, they are names of mountains. Actually, they're twin mountains in Laguna and Quezon. So, according to legends, one is a sacred mountain, and the other twin is the devil mountain. So, to share a little background on how I conceptualized, because I was fascinated with the idea of yung shared experiences ng twins. Like there
Yes.
would be stories like they're separated at birth, pero yun nga, the other one would still feel like, kanyari, natutulog ka, tapos yung isa, nagsiswimming, so parang feeling mo, basa ka din, yung mga ganon. So, or, they would have, and they would remember an experience that didn't really happen to them. Pala yung twin pala, sa twin pala nangyari. So I was fascinated with that, and I toyed with that idea in the comic. So, yun yung basic premise niya na medyo spoilery, but I'll share. So what if, kunyari, what if one of the twins is actually murdering someone and the other one can see?
Yeah, this is just hypothetical, okay? We're not saying that all the twins that all born twins will actually do something like that. But just hypothetical, okay? So if you have a twin brother or a twin sister, wag naman sanang matakot ka, no? But
It's just coincidental that they're named Banahaw and Cristobal.
yeah, and we will leave it at that with regards to. But yes, with regards to the shared experience, that's what I did get from reading and rereading the comic prior to today. But one thing I like,
dahil fiction, in-exage na natin na, murdering and stuff. Pero, there is a phenomenon, although hindi pa siya scientifically explained, not that I know of, na yun nga, parang nagkakaroon ng shared experiences. Yung mga...
Yeah. One thing I liked is that you drew inspiration and incorporated monsters of Philippine folklore. Some of them I just came across from the first time. Like one of them was the Sipay. There is an explanation of it in the graphic novel, but just in case for those who have not read it and would want to know more of our folklore, what exactly is Sipay?
Sipay, actually, fascinating to me to find out din. Kasi parang hindi familiar ang tao sa kanya. Laguna. But if you talk to people like for example, we were interviewed by Channel 7 to feature the Carnal comics. And then, yung mga hindi taga Laguna, hindi nila kilala si Sipay. But there was a tech guy na taga San Pablo, Laguna. Kilala niya. So maybe it's a Laguna thing, but anyway, so I digress. What is the Sipay? Sipay is a creature whom we were warned about as children. We were supposed to nap, afternoon nap. Siyempre, Filipino tayo, di ba, may siesta. So lalo na dati, kasi mga matatanda, talagang strict. Matulog ka ng tanghali. Kung hindi, pag hindi ka natulog, at lumabas ka sa kalye, kukunin ka ng sipay. So, yun yung panakot para matulog ka. Lalo na, before, talagang pagtanghali, wala talagang tao sa labas. Kasi nga, mainit, di ba? And then everybody's taking a siesta. So, pag lumabas ka ng kalye, talagang walang iba. So, if for example, may kumuha nga sa'yo, hindi malalaman yung tao na may kumuha sa'yo. Siguro, gabi na, asan si ano? Diba? So, the Sipay is a creature who supposedly takes children who do not nap, puts them in a sack, tapos yun nga, like, drains them of their blood. Tapos the blood is sprinkled on the foundations of like yung mga buildings, bridges. So, to make the foundation stronger. May ibang mga beliefs, depende sa region yata kung ano yung, at padugo yata ang tawag sa kanya sa I'm sure yung mga guys who are like contractors, engineers, architects, parang I've heard of this, yung parang padugo ang tawag sa kanya sa construction.
It's
Pero
for
syempre,
good.
pero
That's for
syempre,
good.
yung
Tapos,
dati sinasabi bata daw. Pero syempre ngayon, parang ginagawa na lang is bibili sila ng manok o
Right.
kambing. Kasi, you start to appease the spirits before you do any actual
True. Yeah, I've heard of that as well, yung padugo. And I don't think it's I don't know if every architect or construction firm will adhere to that. But alam kong but I hear that meron din. But that's not the only monster that you have in the story. There's also the Danag. This one I owe to you and also to author Stephanie Meyer, who mentioned it first in her Twilight book. That was when Bella was researching about vampires, when she suspected that Edward, is probably one. And that's the type of monster that we don't hear often. And I wonder why and where does this one originate from?
Yung ibang creatures actually is medyo, in Banahaw, is medyo cop-out. So maybe yung mga gatekeepers ng ating mythology and culture is sasabihin nila, bakit nandyan yan? Kasi Laguna ang setting ko. But some of the monsters are from Mindanao. And,
Okay. There you are.
And Visayas. Kasi for me, bakit sila ma-restrict why are you geographically restricting them? Hindi ba pwedeng lumipat? You know what I mean?
True. Monsters are nomads. wala akong makain sa Mindanao. Di punta ako na Luzon. Ano ba?
Hindi ba? They can fly, right? Some of them can fly. Why can't they?
Yeah. Right. Diba?
So, apologies to yung mga cultural gatekeepers natin. Pero yun nga, I put some creatures from other regions dun sa book. Kasi, I wanted to, a little spoilery again, yung MO, yung modus operandi ng killer is he makes it appear that they are being killed by creatures. When I was researching creatures, I was looking for yung specifics na ano pa yung kayang ma-recreate para to make the people in the book, the bystanders think na, ay, ito ang gumawa niyan kasi tingnan mo las na yung niya, wala sinipsip yung sinapupunan yung baby, so siguro ganito yung gawa, di ba? So si Danag is supposedly the first vampire sa atin. Kasi nga parang natikman niya yung dugo. Before that, helpful siya tumutulong siya sa farmers. Kaya lang, may isang unfortunate farmer na nagkaroon ng bamboo sliver sa finger niya. So, si Danag being helpful, trying to remove the sliver is yung sinipsip niya. Kaya at the same time, syempre, natikman niya yung dugo. Ay, masarap pala yung dugo ng tao. So, nag-turn siya.
So, yun yung first. I like. They're not, of course, the only monsters in there. You also have the black chick and yung kiwig and others. Was there a time in the conceptualization of the plot to incorporate the explanation of the monsters in the storyline, as opposed to what you finally decided, which is to devote, one page to the monster and explaining what it is? I mean, personally, I prefer it that you do it this way. One page devoted to the monster, because it also introduces foreign readers to the monsters and those who do not know much about our folklore and what scares us at night. And also, it's like a refresher course in local horror mythology.
Was there an attempt to, for me, hindi, kasi I know it would get in the way of the story.
Okay.
But I also wanted exactly a refresher course on what these creatures are, because a lot of them we're not familiar with anymore. So parang may educational din. Parang I wanted to share na, may mga ganito tayo. Diba? So I dedicated a page to what they are. Also because, if you're not familiar with them, parang hindi din mag-resonate sa'yo na, ba't sila natatakot? Eh, nilaslas lang naman yung so hindi ba pwede gawin ng tao yan? So parang mag-gets din nila why a common folk in the story were afraid and why did
Mhm.
they think na ay itong klaseng aswang na to yung gumawa. So parang it serves a lot of purpose.
Right. At the end of the graphic novel, there's a line there that says the story continues in Carnal Cristobal. Now, for the longest time, I've been looking for it. And can you give our viewers and listeners, as well as your fans, an update about the comic or the sequel?
Surprise! You can't find it yet because it's not out yet.
Yun na.
Basically,
Nasagot
that's
ang
my
tanong.
fault. Actually, that's my fault na yun nga. Because of work, medyo nahirapan akong mag-dedicate ng time for it. Kasi Carnal Banahaw before it's like almost a two-man job na I will do the lettering. I will do the pencils and inks, and then BK will color it, but it goes back to me for siguro like
Finish
final tweaking pagdating sa colors
finishing
kasi
colors.
minsan kapag um, hindi ito yung feel for the page, kailangan ko i-tweak ng konti kasi for me kasi medyo hirap ako mag-explain ng gusto ko kasi parang meron akong yun nga, hirap ako mag-explain ng mga ideas ko. So I would rather prefer doing it myself. And then yun nga, lettering,
Layout.
layout, and then yun nga, making sure sa printer kung tama yung pagkano. Yun nga, life kasi is a hindrance, kailangan mong kumita ng money.
True,
And
true.
of
That's
course,
always a challenge to any creator.
and syempre, there was, yun nga, dubidu na kinilangan naming i-prioritize. So, ayun na, it turned out beautiful naman na everybody appreciates it. Right now, we're more focusing on yun nga, yung Carnal Tales, which is easier to produce. In the same way, it's helping us build up yung finances
For Cristobal.
or for Cristobal, basically.
And your
Because,
portfolio, not to mention,
yes,
diba?
Yes.
That which goes without saying. I'm glad that you mentioned that cautionary tales, because these are two works that I recently got from you guys last year Comic Kit, which is a smaller variant that you can easily finish in one sitting.
Right.
And
Yes.
if you don't mind reading horror at night, these would be the best ones to read at night. These would be cautionary tales and apparitions.
Yes.
Yeah, so these are. Can you give the readers a clue of what these two set of stories are?
They are a spin-off series of Carnal Banahaw. So they occur in the same universe and
Okay.
feature the characters that appear in Banahaw when they were younger.
All right.
Spin-off series pero standalone. So you don't. We appreciate if you read Banahaw, but you don't need to read Banahaw to get into Carnal Tales. So each issue or volume is a standalone. Each issue features three short tales. It's told in a storyteller style. If you are familiar with Jim Henson's storyteller from before,
Mm-hmm.
or Are You Afraid of the Dark? That show that used to feature kids telling stories. So ganun ang storyteller style. So yung bawat story is short, but there is a definite beginning and end.
Mhm.
As opposed to Banahaw, mas Laguna-centric yung stories because these are actual stories that were told to me or happened to people that I know who live in Liliw. So it's also an attempt because all of the stories of my lolas and lolas are told orally, right? So now that they're gone, wala na rin yung stories kasi parang hindi na natin culture, di ba? Like, it's napakabihira na
Yeah.
you would have a lolo or a lola or an elder sit down with you at night and tell you stories. Parang nawawala na yung ganung tradition. So, putting them in a comic book format is also an attempt na ma-preserve tong stories na to kasi otherwise they would disappear because they're just told. They're not written down. Tapos, what else? It also, as opposed to Banahaw, which is for, sorry, there's someone at the door, so he has to go.
All right.
As opposed to Banahaw na medyo for older audiences kasi nga, there is a bit of violent content. Carnal
Mm-hmm.
tales can be told to kids. And even my son reads it. So, kasi they're designed talaga for children to get to know what these stories are, what these creatures are. They might not be familiar with. And also within the universe, it's also my attempt to give a little background on Banahaw, Cristobal, their playmates whom the adult versions are in Banahaw. It gives
Mm-hmm.
me a chance to expand on their characterizations, on their backgrounds, on their backstory, without putting it in the main Carnal
Storyline.
Carnal Cristobal book. So parang Marvel Universe style, like, Iron
The
Man has,
spin-off.
yes, Iron Man has his backstory in the Iron Man movies. Pero kaya pagdating mo ng Avengers Endgame, hindi mo na kailangan ikwento lagi. So parang alam mo na. So yun yung mga multiple purposes of Carnal Tales.
Yeah, I like. Obviously, the stories that you have are set in your hometown of Liliu in Laguna,
Mhm.
and you did mention that you took some liberties, transporting some monsters that are in other parts of the country into Liliu. And since I'm not from Liliu, and some of these monsters, in uh, generation wise, will sometimes be upgraded to urban legend. So, any urban legends that come to mind for you na originated sa Liliw lang?
Uh, I guess that pig that you see in apparitions is a sort
Ah,
of
yeah.
or as a sort of urban legend. Supposed to be may makikita kang giant pig roaming around at night.
Mhm.
The
And
the one
lalaki
na
na lang siya.
laki na lang siya, so hindi mo alam kung baboy ba siya talaga o ano ba siya, di ba? Ba't siya lumaki?
Oo, hindi mo siya pwedeng kainin kasi ikaw ang kakainin niya eh.
Meron din mga before, like mga myth-based urban legends na yun nga, may humahabol na San Telmo sa'yo. The San Telmo is the ball of fire. So, dati daw may mga hinahabol nun. I don't know why sila hinahabol, pero yan yung mga urban legends at the time na yun yung kwento-kwento ng mga, you know, tao-tao.
Mhm, mhm. Speaking of urban legend, we all know about the White Lady of Balete Drive.
Mhm.
I was wondering, what do you think of the rumor that it was actually more of a social experiment na upgrade lang into an urban legend?
Maaari, because hindi natin, because there's, wala naman talagang Ghostbusters na scientifically
Sayang.
di ba? So,
Dali, magtayo na tayo.
so,
Sasali ako dyan. Gusto ko yan.
it started with just one story and got passed around, di ba? Who knows, di ba? Parang, it's like yung I mentioned before, nung Ramos administration, magsasabi, nakita ko ng aswang, nakita ko manananggal. Parang, who's to say that it wasn't also a social experiment at the time? Diba? Somebody got bored. Like a group of people got bored and started to, and then it got elevated into mass hysteria na kasi nga, madilim, di ba? Brown out. So, parang, your imagination is playing tricks on you already. So, parang, it could be possible. Yun nga.
Right? Yeah. I mean, nothing is ever set in stone when you think about it with regards to folklore and mythology. Earlier on in the intro, I did mention your own comic company, which is Amagination Comics, and I was wondering how long ago was that formed, and what titles did you release under that imprint?
It's I guess if you would peg a date to it, 2009. Kasi
Oh,
yung,
okay.
yun yung 2019, sorry. Kasi yun
Mm.
yung, that's the first Carnal Tales.
Mm.
So, ayun nga, Carnal Banahaw was released in 2018, and then we knew that it will end in Carnal Cristobal. But it's not quick to turn out another graphic novel. So in between, we decided mag-indie release na lang tayo ng little snippets within the universe. And that's another purpose of Carnal Tales. Para hindi mainip yung
Mm.
readers and mawalan ng interest kay Banahaw. So we released yung mga little short tales in between Banahaw and Cristobal.
To sort of
Ngayon,
fill the gap. Okay.
yeah.
Mm.
So,
Right.
I guess 2019 because that's when we first released yung Tales.
All right. So the $24,000 question: is it hard or easy to create and publish your own comic?
It's easy to come up with stories, but it's not easy to create.
Mm-hmm.
To have these stories come into fruition in the form of comics, especially as indie creators. By the word itself, you have to do everything. Like he said, so he's doing the pencils, the inks, the colors, the layout, the letters. As opposed to if you're part of an industry, like for example, Marvel, which is like a really big company. So there would be different people doing that. Sometimes it's like the lettering would be like 2, 3 people working on it, right? So as opposed to that system, that's why they're able to create like comics monthly. There was a time that the X-Men I know would come out but like every 2 weeks in the
Yeah,
90s.
yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
were
Every 2 weeks,
so can you imagine yung labor that would go into it? As opposed to that, if you are an indie creator, ikaw na yung gagawa ng lahat. Wala ka pang editor na mag-oversee sa'yo. So, ikaw din. Diba? Ikaw din. So forgive us if there are like spelling, grammar, mistakes like that. Because if you do everything by yourself, these things will, you will start to miss these things kasi araw-araw mo siyang tinitignan. So, there's no fresh set of eyes looking over your work.
Oh, this is not to scare yung mga gustong pumasok sa indie business. Because yun nga, like what Bambi is saying, na hindi lang naman, yun nga, yung time and effort na paggawa ng actual material, there is also something afterwards to do. Kasi since you're indie, you don't have publishers to push,
You have to promote, to market yourself, your work.
So in conventions, you have to be there. You're the ones who getting the
Yes,
the
you
money.
have to
You
be
you give them the
the
change.
right,
kahera.
right. You are your own PR team.
Exactly,
Yes,
your
exactly.
PR, and then when you get home, you have to do the accounting. Kasi
Accounting,
how do you know if you're actually making money doing this? So, which is most of the time, hindi. Parang
Break even.
you're happy to earn enough to make the next comic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly,
Mm.
So
exactly.
passion really plays a lot into indie creating stuff. Because if you don't like, what's the point? Lalo na if you're going to do it to earn money. Parang the passion has to be there. Diba?
Yes.
Yeah, true. If there are creatives out there, let's say, who have an idea and would wish to adapt or write their own comic, where should they begin? Art first, or the story and words muna? So which of the two should they concentrate first on?
Baliktad kami siguro. I'm sure baliktad kami ni Bambi. For me, it's mostly art first.
Okay.
Yun ang creative ano ko eh. I mean, I created design, a character, design a character. Kasi I think, for me kasi, dun magano yung story mo eh. Yun ang importante. That's, as a visual, yun yung unang makikita ng tao. Diba?
Mm-hmm.
Kailangan maging, you are aware with what, what uso, or what clicks agad na first kasi there are tons of there are tons of material already. So your protagonist, at least your protagonist should capture yung attention ng ah, ng readers. Kasi nga, magbibigay sila ng money sa'yo eh. Mag-i-invest sila. And then, siya, pero not to say that, yun nga, the story should be basta na lang. No? Which is, syempre, yun nga, it's art first, what grabs your attention, and then the story is what keeps your readers interested in what you do.
Okay.
So, ayun. For me, kasi, for me, it's art first.
For me, because I'm a writer and I can't draw for my life. So
Ako din.
So mas kailangan ko siya kesa sa siya kailangan ako kasi.
No naman. No.
So yun, for me personally, it begins with the story idea. Like with Banahaw kanina, di ba? I was saying na wow, this thought of shared experiences with twins is fascinating. What if, kunyari, what if yung isa masama? So, tapos nararamdaman ng mabait. So, for me, it starts with that, with the story ideas, and then I build on the characters. I know some writers probably have a character muna in mind, and then build the story. But for me, it's usually yung story idea first, and then I start to build yung characters, the world. So, ganon.
Yeah, I know the question. There's no wrong way to look at it when you think about it. Yeah, I mean, the question does sound like a chicken and egg question. Sino ba mauna, ang manok or ang itlog, di ba? And everyone will have their own process, and you always. And I guess as a creative, the only thing that you really need to be mindful of is that you adhere to the process that holds true for you. And the one na komportable ka. Because if you're not comfortable with that process, you can't just adapt someone else's process and say, sila ginawa nila ng ganyan eh. So gagayahin ko rin. It doesn't work that way.
Correct. Yes.
So, and like if you're writing, you're stuck in, let's say, page 2. Some people can be stuck there forever because they want to write things chronologically. But what if you give yourself a little breather, and which is what some writers do, is like, okay, I'm stuck at page 2. I'll leave that for now, and I'll go to chapter 4, and I'll continue. And saka ko na lang balikan pag alam ko na kung paanong ialisin yung buhol with sa aking plot hole. So again, whatever process works for you, that should be the one that you should be working with. Now, speaking of working with, if given a chance to collaborate with somebody, let's say from the international comic scene, who would you likely pick? Sky's the limit.
Wow. Hindi ako masyadong familiar sa mga artists. But for yung mga writers, I would like to collab, syempre. Go for Neil Gaiman, di ba?
No, ano man.
Diba? Yung, sino yung, the Saga, sino, si BK Rohan. What's his name?
Rohan.
He's all of his works are actually very good, and I would like to collaborate with him, learn from him.
Paging Neil Gaiman, please. You're being tagged in this podcast.
Siyempre, if budget is up to it, di ba? We can come up with something.
Yan na, manifest na yan. Totohanan na to.
Local artists, Arnold Are, of course, siyempre, we go for the Carlo Vergara, di ba? Unfortunately, wala na si Sir Jerry. But syempre, you go for gold na yun. Diba?
Tama. Go for gold.
Go for the top tier, guys.
Well, the local, how about you, Roland?
For me, internationally, I would go with Gonagai.
Okay.
I wasn't able to, I guess I didn't answer the question earlier about that. Because for me, I like Super Robots as a kid. And I really, really love Mazinger Z. So having to be able to come up with, to work out a new IP for Gonagai, that would be the dream for me.
Sige.
Local sabi na niya, same lang kami, Sir Jerry, yun nga si Sir Carlo Vergara, Sir Arnold Dare, Sir Budget. Of course.
Yes, budget, of course. Yes.
Mm.
You know what? The local comic scene is certainly one star brighter because of local creatives like yourselves who
Yes.
continue to put ideas onto paper and into the hands of readers. And we all thank you. We all thank you for that. Where can they learn more about you and your works on social media? Kung gusto kayong kulitin ng mga readers.
Actually,
Kailan si part 3, kailan si book 2.
I'm not sure if you can scan the QR code, but this is our link tree.
Ayan, no? Ayan, hawak-hawak ko rin, no? Ayan.
If you can scan the QR code, it's our link tree. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook under Comics by Amagination. We also have a Twitter account, Amagination C. Then our books are available under Comic at Dubiduas. You can message Critic HQ or drop by any Comic at event. Their Shopee shop also has Carnal Tales 1 and 2. I'm not sure if they also still have Banahaw, but more or less drop by events where we'll probably be there and say hi.
Yeah, don't be shy. Don't be shy. And if you want to geek out like a fan, like what I did, then go ahead and do that. Well, thank you, Roland. Thank you, Bambi, for today. It really is such a pleasure to have you on the show. Nangyari din ng nangyari because as I said, reading Banahaw back in 2019 was one of the things that kind of like got me thinking, if I'm going to have a podcast, what should I be talking about? And so, both of you are, one of the inspirations for why the podcast is here. So, it's like full circle. So,
thank you very much.
Like full circle for me.
We're so happy to know
so
that.
happy.
Wow.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
So that's a very high compliment. Actually, I think the highest compliment for me as a creator is when fellow creators come up to us and say, "Oh, your works inspired us to do this, to do that, to come up with my own." So thank you.
Thank you.
That makes our day.
Thank you too. Thank you too as well. Well, that is a wrap for everyone for today. But thank you so much for joining us on this episode. Till the next one, keep creating, and we will keep reading. Stay safe, stay creative, stay focused, and namaste. That was another episode of Urban Fantasy PH. Join us next time as we feature another creative soul who wants their art to be seen, heard, and shared. If you have your own work to share, just email us at urbanfantasyph@gmail.com. Till the next episode, this is independent author, singer-songwriter, radio personality, voice actor, and fellow creative, CJ Edmunds, reminding you to always listen to your heart, create with your mind, and share with your soul. Goodbye, everybody. Namaste. Blessed be.